Pope Francis has broken from the official teaching of the Roman Catholic Church and called for the creation of civil union laws. His comments come in a new documentary and are his clearest support yet for the rights of same-sex couples. Here's church historian and Catholic commentator Paul Collins. Hello, Paul. How significant are these comments from the Pope?
They're very significant, really. It's a consistent theme with him. When he was Archbishop of Buenos Aires, when the whole question of gay marriage came up in Argentina, he was very strong in supporting civil unions. The reason behind his approach is that he has shifted the whole emphasis of the papacy away from a kind of insistence on doctrinal purity, on moral rigidity, and he's reinstated, if you like, the pastoral side of the church. The church is not here to enforce dogma or to tell people how to live. The church is here to care for people, to support people, as Pope Francis says, to include them in the family. And I think that the very best thing about this statement is that that's exactly what he's doing. He's embracing gay people and saying, you're as much part of the family as anybody else.
So what is he actually calling for then, Paul, with this civil union law? Is it any different to what's already in place?
Well, it doesn't go quite as far as gay marriage. Here in Australia, of course, and I supported gay marriage here when the referendum came up, when the vote came up. The majority of Catholics in Australia supported it. There's clear evidence of that. But we've got to remember that gay marriage is a civil reality. It's not the business of the church. Marriage only becomes the business of the church when it's seen as a sacrament. Even the medieval theologians saw a distinction between a civil marriage and a sacramental marriage. So I think that he's gone about as far as he can go. I don't think he's going to come out and support gay marriage. But he's gone a long way further than some of the Australian bishops, I have to say that, who I think still live in a kind of a dogmatic, morally rigid kind of atmosphere, whereas Pope Francis is quite clear that the key issue is pastoral.
So what impacts are his comments having on those very traditional parts of the church?
Truthfully, Ros, I think it's going to be difficult to move some of them. Within Catholicism, we've experienced culture wars. They're perhaps more pronounced in the United States than they are here in Australia. But nevertheless, there is a culture war on. And it's, if you like, the people who are determined that they're not going to shift from the kind of church that they grew up in the 1940s and 50s. And sadly, quite a number of younger people are embracing that model of church. Whereas I suppose people in my age group, and it's clear what my age group might be from the vision, we've moved on. We've embraced the Second Vatican Council, and we are determined to live in a pluralist society, in dialogue with that society, supporting it and being very much part of it.
When the Pope came to power, for want of a better phrase, he was seen as being progressive. Has he lived up to those expectations, or has he been seen to be wanting?
Well, on an issue like this, he's lived up to expectations. On most issues, he's lived up to expectations. And on the question of environment, in his encyclical Laudato Si', he's far exceeded those expectations. But there is one area where he is very weak, and it reflects the fact that he is a male from a Latin culture. That he's still living in patriarchy, and that area is on the question of the role of women. He does I don't think he gets the women issue. He certainly doesn't understand the total equality of women that we've, at least in theory, embraced in a country like Australia. So that's an extremely important area, given that women constitute slightly more than half the human race. That's an area where I think he still has a long way to go, and perhaps the church hierarchy generally have some distance to go.
Paul Collins, very good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Roz.